physical attractiveness of people who become love partners frequently resembles that of other people. And this can also hold true to most of our friends as well. Now, the reason for that is quite the more obscure one, as we are not too sure on why this happens. There have been multiple theories and multiple suggestions on why, but none are clear and cut. One theory suggests that self-esteem can be shown between person to person. If you have low self-esteem, you'll often attract more low self-esteemed friends. But why is that? Well, many people often converge into cliques or groups with multiple similarities. Very rarely will we find a pair or trio that has drastically different views or headbutting of interests or ideas. This can be related to several reasons. One, because we preferably like people who have more of our standards or view of life in mind. But this cannot always be the case, especially when it comes to lovers. Now, while lovers always start with one person or both people experiencing some type of attraction. Now, this can be physical attraction or mentality attraction. Mentality attraction is often what we use to find friends, because we want people who think or act like us in our circle. Because even though we won't admit it, many people think their view of life is correct. Now, with lovers, it's a little bit more complicated, as both sides of physical and mentality attraction must be present for a fully compatible couple. Now, while many people break this and often go for just mentality or just attractiveness, many of them who do marry or do get together does not stand for very long. Or if they do, they can have often negative consequences for both or one party. On the attractive side of things, how you find someone attractive can often be seen in your beauty standards. Now, while many people have vastly different beauty standards, it can often be pinpointed to religion, area, or what you have been exposed to. This can also be put into view on how you were raised even. Along with that, religion is also one major key in physical attractiveness. Let us take Muslims for example. Muslims have most skin covered, especially with females. For females, they have nearly all of their skin covered, and only those of family or other females can see them. But why is that? Well, that is because that they want to focus more on the personality and love language that they have instead of physical features. They see that love is more pure. Now, whether that can be tossed up to how you see it or what you think pure love is. But to a Muslim man, that could be very attractive. For a woman who is more modest and more open about her personality can be seen as attractive to them. Or Christianity. Christianity can often move between it can often depend on what type of or what subsection of Christianity you belong to. Some pieces of Christianity are extremists, in which the wife or woman should always be in the kitchen, slim and thin. However, more modern they are stay at home, however, has the ability to run and work if push comes to shove. But what about if it wasn't religion? It can often also depend on exposure. Exposure to different body types or exposure to different people in general can often influence your attraction to people. If you were to grow up in a predominantly white neighborhood, let us take this for example, with skinnier ladies who are not often on the heavy side, then studies show that you are more likely to be physically attracted to those who have the same body standard. And this can also be pushed even closer when it comes to how close of relativity you are to them. Let's take a street. There's 4 houses on one side and 4 houses on the other. Each place has the same amount of people, let's say 4 in each household. And you often play with the neighbor to your right. Now, to your right and left are basically good people. You play with them all the time. You mess with them. You know, your friends. However, you rarely go across the street to play with your other neighbors, as you see the distance is too far, and they are relatively near you, your left and right neighbors. You're more seen with those people. You can interact with them. You're pushed closer together thanks to your proximity. This was an example of the mere exposure effect. The theory often immobilizes novel stimuli more after repeated exposure, because with the forced proximity, you will have no other choice but to get closer or mess with them more. And then we come to the mentality. Mentality is another big key feature or key element to a stable, healthy relationship. Now, the basis of this comes from the reinforcement model. Only makes reference to possible reinforcement. The main the distinction is that after the behavior is carried out, positive reinforcement is presented to the learner. With rewarding stimulus, when a negative stimulus is conducted, you will less likely be next to that person. So, if they feed your more positive stimuli and you come to crave it, then you will often get into more comfortable with that person. Now, this can go one of two ways. Positive reinforcement can also be used in relationships with many children or with those who are disabled in some way, while not having physical attraction. Odd, I know. But mentality attraction can often be also seen as developed in 2 different stages, which we can usually call friendship and lovers. Let us use those 2, as they are more easier to understand. Friendship is positive stimuli and positive reinforcement given to you in temporary effects. You come across with them once or twice, maybe in a week. And when you come to crave it or want to see it, you will obviously go to seek out that person, spending more time and getting more stimulus from that person in the response of positive reinforcement to like ideas, to wanting just to be around you. You can move on to the second stage of lovers. Now, lovers is a term that we can use very loosely, as in dating can become extremely messy, especially if you're only for physical or mentality attraction. Even though that we see mentality attraction a lot more a lot more important than physical. However, to have a good and healthy relationship, there should also always be a mix of mentality attraction and physical attraction. For physical attraction can often bring about stimuli and the craving of being more interactive with your chosen person. Now, body stereotypes can be dangerous and can be good. It is a double-edged sword that is often the latter. The bodies of girls and boys are often depicted in stereotypical and sexist ways. In the media, films, videos, advertising features slim, toned bodies devoid of imperfection. These images are usually touched up, however, using special software and present to an unrealistic or unhealthy. Now, this is a bad thing. As advertisements, we see nearly 90% of the time that we are on social media. And thanks to this, many couples or many people develop ideas of what they or what other people should look like. This can cause toxic double standards or the complete dismisses or breakdown of communication once a person gets these into their head and lashes out or puts them to their partner. Because they promote only model beauty, these images can lead and carry can lead to many psychological and interpersonal problems for young people. And even if they affect girls and boys differently, the main consequences is basically the same for both. They become disoriented and dissatisfied with their figure or with how they look. With the social benefit reinforcement theory, there's also one more theory that goes along with that, which is the social exchange theory. The social exchange theory is perhaps one of the more general theories of all physical or mentality attraction. Now, with the social exchange, it can be between two or more people or one-on-one. And with a large diversity between these two, or these two results, is that one can be more intimate while others can be more casual, is where things can get a lot more sticky. As for example, lovers often will pick up on each other's habits or scheduling around their partner. This is a more common occurrence than with friends, as friends will often lead towards more mentality attraction than real physical and a mental attraction, which is where lovers come involved. Let us take best friends for example for a more clear explanation. Best friends can often be decided by people who often favor one person out of their entire friend group. Now, this can often change between person and person because they want to see abilities and mindsets more apparent to them or more ones that they can agree with. Now, while best friends can often be a loose term or a tight term depending on who you talk to, the social exchange theory suggests that these people will often go out of their way to talk, look, or even go interact with this person while exchanging key factors or small partial pieces of knowledge with that person, such as their personal lives, school lives, or even deep-seated feelings in which they concede as secrets to that best friend. Social exchange theory posts that people compare potential attractive relationships and mentality relationships. Now, depending on which one it pushes, it can often lead to more mixed results. Such as, if one person can have a best friend whose mentality is what they are seeking, they can often try to find that mentality within another partner. Or they can be the complete opposite mentality of their partner, as they are trying to see or trying to deduce that that partner has something that their best friend cannot provide within their mentality, or attractiveness. Even though that many people will often attract people who have the same self-esteem, same attractiveness level as others, this can still be a lacking part in the relationship between best friends. This can also go back into the pros and cons analysis. Now, the analysis can state that whether or not is the analysis between the positive and neutral side of things. Now, with a best friend, you will always be looking for positives, upsides. And since most people will spend an average of 80% of their time away from that person, depending on the pair, then they do not see many of the other negative side effects unless they are reached or directly affected by them. Now, that is a lot different than lovers, because you will be spending up to 90% of your time with that singular person. So their mentality becomes a lot more clear to a lot of different aspects of that person. You will often see them. You will have to base your schedule around that person depending on your type of relationship. So, when it comes to social exchange theory, positive reinforcement, and matching phenomenon, and your vicinity, many conclusions can be drawn between two or more people that call themselves love, or call what they call love.